Fluency, a big problem for IELTS students everywhere. But what is it? And how can we improve it? Those are the questions I'm going to answer in today's lesson. So, what is fluency? Fluency is your ability to speak smoothly and coherently, clearly. Your fluency level goes down with things like repetition, pauses, self-correction. So these are the things you have to eliminate from your speaking to get a band 9. Now, that's easier said than done, I know, but I've got 5 tips for you today that are going to help your fluency and perhaps increase your level before your next test. Number 1 is to stop using filler sounds. A filler sound is typically any sound that you make to fill the silence. The first way you can overcome this is to simply reduce your fear of silence. A lot of my students don't want to pause. They feel like pausing will reduce their score. But sometimes a thoughtful pause is absolutely fine, and I do it too. Take a look at any speech from Obama. He has a lot of thoughtful pauses. Now, of course, he's using it for a reason. He's using it for the effect to emphasize certain things. But you can do the same. So instead of saying, I like biscuits, say, I like biscuits. It sounds much better and much more fluent. Alternatively, if you don't like the silence at all, you could fill it with a filler phrase or word. A couple of examples are, well, let's see. That's a tough question. These are perfectly fluent. Of course, don't keep repeating the same one, otherwise that just becomes a habit. A lot of my students are guilty of the endless sentence. This is where they give an answer that doesn't seem to end. I like biscuits and cola because they are very delicious, so I eat them every day. And sometimes, even though the answer goes on and on and on because they don't want to pause. Be very clear in your structure and then be very clear with where you will pause in between sentences. So of course, if you give a basic answer and then detail, pause between them and show that full stop. Number 3 is to reduce your repetition. And again, this is easier said than done. There aren't many real strategies I can give you to overcome this problem. But what I would say is when you're practicing, always record your answers. Always record you speaking and then listen to the audio back later. I do this with my students in my academy. We record everything and then they can go home later and realize, whoa, I've got a real habit of repeating myself. This includes self-correction as well. So try not to self-correct too much. Even if you feel like you made a mistake, try to continue with your answer. And although it's hard, forget that you made that mistake. My next tip is to start your answers powerfully. One of the problems among my students is they start their answers with very low energy, which leads to poor intonation and poor stress. For example, my city is quite big and it has a nice modern subway. If you start with low energy like this, your answer will never pick up and the whole answer will be flat. Compared to this, my city is quite big and it has a nice modern subway. Your energy levels, your intonation might go down at the end of the sentence, that's fine, but the majority of it will have much nicer, more fluent sounding English. So I really strongly recommend focus on the start of the answer, getting that energy nice and high. Finally, increase your range of discourse markers. Now, there's so many names for discourse markers. Maybe you hear linking phrases, linking words, linkers. but this is basically words and phrases that link ideas together. Very important. The problem is, of course, a lot of students are comfortable with conjunctions. Okay, that's fine, and, so, but. And then they're okay with some connecting words like however, therefore. Okay, that's a little bit better, linking bigger ideas. But then they lack range. And if you can increase your range, that is going to improve your fluency. Now, I'm going to make a lesson on this. So I'll make a whole lesson on discourse markers. But here's some of my favorites. Instead of therefore, try using consequently. The roads in my city are very busy. Consequently, a lot of people take the subway. Start off your negative opinions with, to be honest. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of Western food. I prefer Korean food. Give examples with in the case of. In the case of my sister, learning languages is quite difficult because she's more of a sporty person. When contrasting two ideas, instead of using however or but, try using conversely. English winters tend to be very wet. Conversely, Korean winters tend to be very dry and cold. Finally, if you want to generalize, try using on the whole. On the whole, life in the countryside is a bit slower than life in the city. Okay, that's all the fluency tips I have for you today. I hope that's useful for you and perhaps you will be able to increase your fluency before your next exam. How about you? What do you find difficult in the IELTS speaking section? Is it fluency? Are there other areas that you find difficult? Let me know in the comments below and I will work on more lessons for the future. If you liked today's lesson and you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. And I'll be back very soon with more IELTS content.